All right. Glad to be back. I mentioned last week that how proud I was of the group that we're working with, and I thought they did really well this past weekend. Scored 2 great goals early, and then just making sure that you advance from that point. So it was a little bit of a strange game, but again, we played really well. Everyone's healthy. It's another Sunday game, so a very similar week to last week in regards to training. And it's just, for our guys, we get to spend Thanksgiving together, which we're very excited about, and also with Thanksgiving break on campus, we get to change up our training times a little bit. So right after this, we're going to go train, and they'll have a little more time off in the evening. But again, really excited about playing at Clemson, unfortunately. It would have been nice to have that game at home. I know Coach Noonan pretty well. We both used to be in the Ivy League. He's done a really good job there, and it's going to be a very tough matchup. But again, with our team and everyone being healthy, I'll give us a really good chance against everyone. So, ready to go.
I know pretty much what the answer is going to be, but when you get 2 early goals, man, the ice has got to be broken, and just the way the pressure flips from jockeying for position to you're up 2, and man, all the pressure's on the other guy.
Yeah, and we talked about last week. It's really tough with Santa Clara because they had to travel all the way from the West Coast to play at Akron, play an overtime game, then bus 6 hours down to play us. The conditions were ideal for us, not for a California team. So I think, again, it was wet and cold, and being down 2-0 10 minutes in. I think that they really tried and they pushed, but at the same time, I just didn't see them getting back. So it's also hard because we want to keep working on being better in the attacking half, moving the ball around, creating chances. But when it's a knockout game and you're winning 2-0, what you sure want to make, what you want to make sure of is that you don't get scored on. So again, it was a very well-controlled game. We were able to rest some guys, we were able to play some guys, and now we're just making sure that we get ready for Sunday. But it was sure nice to be up 2 goals 10 minutes in versus having to go to double overtime, which we've done plenty this year.
You took a couple minutes after the match on Sunday to give a little extra credit to Bailey and Marcel, and you guys were at the podium, and just talk about what they've done for this team as senior leaders, as seasoning captains. What have you seen from them over the course of the last couple months that has kept you guys on this path and led to such a successful season?
Yeah, and I think everyone does it differently, but I think we're big on leading by example. Maybe not always the most vocal guys. Maybe that comes from the coaching staff as well. But I think a really good example of Bailey and Marcel is yesterday we gave them the day off. So I went into the gym that we use to get a little bit of a workout in, and as I'm walking in, they're finishing up their workout. So even though on a day off for our 4- and 5-year players, they know what their bodies need, and they're very, very professional, and they make sure they're always ready to train every single day, not just on game day. So I just think, again, 2 great guys, great players, but even better people, and they've done a really good job making sure that, again, 1 through 25 feels included and feels part of the process. So I couldn't be any prouder of how they've led this team and how we're going to hopefully keep going here on Sunday.
I think in particular before the season you were joking with me that you're going to ship Bailey off on like a boat or something because he's been here so long.
Yeah.
The fact that he's been here so long under your tenure, what has led you to trust him so much over these last couple of years, who has had such a big role not only in the on-field stuff for the team, but some of these behind-the-scenes things as well?
I think that was evident even in the process of recruiting Bailey. Bailey played for a very good club team out of Colorado, but we recruited him as a center midfielder, which he plays for us. But even his senior year in high school, he played center back, he played forward, he played anywhere that his team needed him to play. And that's when we felt like we really knew that we had a guy that was going to be very valuable to us. And again, he will do whatever your team needs him to do. And it's very rare that Bailey doesn't come off a game at least bleeding from somewhere, because there has to be a tackle that had to be made, or he has to do a block, or there's a header. So again, you can't have 11 Baileys, but I think that I would make the argument that every team needs a Bailey. And I think, again, he's a guy that maybe isn't the most technical or the most skillful player, but his output, his distance, his heart, and also his brain in regards to reading where to be and to make sure that he prevents a lot of counterattacks to get started. So again, just a great guy that does a really good job leading by example, and also shows that it's, there's many different ways of playing this game, and Bailey does it really well, the way we need him to play.
And he's kind of looking at Marcel as well. How important do you think it is to have someone who's an experienced senior leader, but also for this team, maybe, an international presence just because of the composition of the roster?
Yeah, Marcel's been great. He came in and has played since a freshman year in 2018. I think the two of them work really well together because maybe Marcel is a little more creative and Bailey knows a little more of the dark arts. But again, when you look at distances covered, when you look at how much ground they make up and how many counters they stop, the two of them do a really good job. But Marcel, what he does really well is that there are times or moments in a game where you need it to slow down a little bit, you need to have composure, and you have to make that decision of, okay, can we play, or should we just cut our losses and get the ball behind them, and then we can press them trying to build out. And what Bailey and Marcel does so well is that they make those decisions, they make the right decision more often than not. And Marcel is definitely the one of the nicest compliments I ever got a long time ago as a player was that I was the oil in the engine. And I think that Marcel is very much the oil. He's the one that makes everything. He lubes every corner of the field and he makes sure that everything goes.
Can you give us a scouting report on Clemson and how both teams relate to each other?
Yeah, again, very well coached team. I know Coach Noonan. They play fairly similar to us. They can play with 3 midfielders or 4 midfielders. They played a little bit of both. I think that depends a little bit on a couple of injuries that they have. High press, high energy, very attacking. They set a lot of their guys forward. So I do think there's some space in behind. But, an ACC team, they lost in the conference semifinal. Of course, they're the 8th seed, so they get to be at home on Sunday. But very, very good team, very energetic. They have several players that, again, can beat you on the dribble. They're good on set play. So when I looked at them on tape the other day, I feel like it's a matchup that suits us pretty well because we're pretty similar. So again, for us, as a coach, you just kind of want to put your best against their best and see kind of what comes out in the end. So very excited, and of course, they're very, very good. We'll spend a lot of time working on us today, and then the next 2 days we'll spend more time in regards to how we need to neutralize Clemson and what we have to be aware of, and then we'll go back to revisiting what we need to do for us on Saturday, the day before game.
You spoke about Santa Clara after the match and how they're notoriously a second-half team, so you guys wanted to start strong and all that stuff. Clemson's kind of the same way. I think like 2/3 of their goals have been scored in the second half this season. So what lessons can you take from the Santa Clara match and the way you approach that and saw it out into the Clemson match?
Yeah, I think there's been moments this season where maybe the guys have gotten ahead of themselves a little bit in regards to looking at the scoreboard or thinking that, okay, the game is over. So I think that we've learned that the hard way, again, going back to our only loss, Charlotte in overtime. So I do think that that's been discussed and we've talked a lot as a group about that. So I think what you need to do to be able to deal with a second half team or a team that's a little stronger in the later halves or later part of the halves is you need to make sure that you have enough depth in the squad. And again, we've talked all along about 1 to 25. I think we have 11 or 12 different goal scorers. So I do think that we have the personnel to match up with them. And also, if we need to go to the bench, then there's several guys there that will come on and add to what we're already doing. So I feel, again, it's not going to be an easy game, but I feel like it's a decent matchup for us.
You referenced that Charlotte match, but between that game, going to Marshall, going to Louisville, going to Coastal to start the season, how much do you think those road tests throughout the season have prepared you guys for which maybe a culminating moment now where you're going on the road and I'm going to go home?
Yeah, and even the conference tournament, we were down in Charlotte again just 2 weeks after we lost, and we had to play 3 games. So I think we're very comfortable on the road. My staff does a really good job in regards to setting us up for success when we're there, making sure that we have the accommodations, making sure that we're staying busy and take care of even, we have study hall with academics and all that kind of stuff. So it's not something that we haven't done before. Of course, it's a knockout game, but again, I think all of those trips that we've talked about, I feel like we're in a good spot.
Anything else?
I got one more. So obviously we talked about the depth and the experience and how veteran this team has a lot this season. But Martin is someone who's played, I think, almost every match to this point and has come in and provided good energy minutes, off the bench or, done different things. What has allowed him to, come in kind of right away, from your acclimate and
Yeah.
play well?
No, those guys, you know, Oliver, Casper, and Martin. You asked about Martin, correct? Yeah. I think that all three of them, you know, they played at a very high level back in Scandinavia, and they played against men for several years already. So I think sometimes the freshmen, the domestic ones in particular that played club soccer, they're used to playing against players their own age. And I think what those three have done is that they've played against grown-ups for the last couple of years. So they're used to the physicality of the game. They're used to the speed of the game. And again, I think for Martin, when he looked at it, you know, sometimes we play guys that are younger than he's normally used to. So I think that he's a very good athlete. He's good in tight spaces. He meant, again, talking about Marcel making smart decisions on the ball, I think Martin's very similar. So he's one of several really good options that we have in regards to wide midfield. I think Nick and Enzo are the same. Cam is the same. So, you know, we have a lot of different guys that we know that we can trust with the ball in the attacking half and that can help us create chances.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.